It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video, and today we're going to talk about e-commerce. Now, I've never talked about e-commerce much on the site, if at all, but I think there's a lot of things out there that make a lot of sense that you may want to sell. I've been getting into 3D printing recently. I also recently released a novel. If you didn't know that, I did write a novel. It's a science fiction novel. It's a pretty good novel in my own personal opinion. And again, being able to list that somewhere and have a place where people could come and get that is important to me. So I'm trying to get this set up. And as I was going through looking for the right open source e-commerce system, I checked out a lot of them. Now there's WordPress, and then you can put things on top of WordPress to make WordPress into an e-commerce site. I think it's called Woo Shop. I can't remember for sure. WooCommerce maybe is what it was. It was interesting, but at the same time, I realized when I do this, now I don't just have to, manage a commerce site, but I've also got to manage a WordPress site, and I've got to keep up with the WordPress updates and the WooCommerce updates and the things that make those work together. And it was just something I didn't want to tackle at the time. I checked out OpenCart. I tried to get it running. I got it running, but then I would go and make changes on the back end and then come back and the front end would never update. I don't know if I had done something incorrectly. I couldn't find any documentation about why it would be doing that. So I kind of went back and tried again, and I found one called Prestashop, and I thought, okay, let's give this a try. And they have some great documentation, so I'll link that in the description as well. I'm going to have my own show notes that you'll be able to get to as always, so definitely go check those out. I'll have step-by-step instructions on how I've set up my Prestashop system. I wanted to show this to you. Now, this is Prestashop here, but I'm going to show you my system on the back end over here. This is just the default. They've set it up, and I haven't really made very many changes, if any. And they've got some default data that you can get set up and installed with it. So I did that so that I can kind of see how they've got things set up for categories and other such things. One of the things that I noticed right out of the gate, though, was when I set up Prestashop, down here where it says payments, there was only one payment. There were only a few payment methods, and they did not include the PayPal payment method. Over on here, they only had pay by check, wire transfer, and cash on delivery, which cash on delivery went out in the 80s as far as I know. I don't know anybody who does COD anymore. Payment by check, also not ideal. I mean, now you're waiting on somebody to send you a check so that you can actually get that thing and deposit it. You send them the thing and they send you the check. That's more like a COD type thing. So if you're doing this as point of sale, I can see how that could kind of make sense. But if you're not doing point of sale, if you're doing e-commerce actually, which is what it's built for, to me, these three options don't make a lot of sense out of the box. And I don't know why they wouldn't include this out of the box, but figuring out how to get this set up on here was a bit of a pain. So I wanted to give you the instructions on how to do that and make it less painful for you guys. And they actually have a lot more ways to accept electronic payments. I just don't understand why they didn't include them by default. But neither here nor there. I did want to go through what it looks like, how it functions, everything like that, but I also want to give you guys the how to get it installed so that you can go and do this for yourselves if you're interested in doing it. I think it's great. I prefer to self-host things. If I really like Prestashop and I stay with it, definitely they're going to be one of the open source projects I start contributing to. I'm not going to pay to use their online service. I don't want to have that, but at the same time, I'll see if there's a way that I can donate or if they have some way that I can just do like a quote unquote license or support license or something like that so that I can contribute back to the project and keep it going, because I do think it's important that you be able to do that. Now that said, if you don't want to go through the trouble to set up Prestashop for yourself, they will let you set up your store on their site, and then of course they will take some sort of fee or they will charge you for something like that. I'm sure there's a free tier that you can start out with to see how it functions for you, but it's really some pretty nice software. I really like it, and the tools that they have are really great. So definitely kind of get out there and check that out as well. All right, we're going to get into how to get, well, first we'll get into the overview of Prestashop right after this. I just want to say thank you so much to all of my patrons over at Patreon. I truly cannot tell you how much it means to me that you want to support this content every month, and it just means the world that you do that. You really help keep this channel going. You're contributing back to open source by contributing to me, and I truly appreciate that. I cannot tell you how much that means. It just means the world to me. For everybody that does buy me a beer or buy me a coffee as a one-off on PayPal, man, it just makes my day when I see those notifications come through. So thank you so much for that. Really and truly, it means the world, and I appreciate it. It's so, you guys are just all so great. For all my subscribers over at YouTube, thank you for subscribing. You're helping the channel grow. You're helping the algorithm get beat on YouTube so that more people can learn about incredible open source software. So I appreciate that. And if you haven't done so already, go down there, click on the subscribe button, click on that thumbs up for this video, and then click on the little bell notification so you'll get notified about more incredible open source software. I have over 200 videos on open source opportunities for you to take advantage of. Incredible solutions that are out there for you to start using today that can just change the way that you use your computer and change the way you view services and applications. I would love for you to get out there and start checking them out. If you have questions, always feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to answer. Also, you can jump over to my Matrix channel, ping me in one of the channels over there. I'm at McInTex, and it's discuss.opensourceisawesome.com on Matrix. When you first install Prestashop, it sets up a front end, which is more what your users would see. So if I go to shop.routemehome.org, this is what you're going to see. Now, I still have the sample data. I haven't put any of my own data in or anything like that yet, but you can see you've got some navigation, you've got some theming, and they have different themes that you can go through and pick. You can kind of restyle things the way you want, but you can see up here you've got this sign-in, and then you've got a cart so that your users can go and sign in. They can add things to their cart. So depending on what you're selling and how much you're selling, this can be a really valuable feature. Now, if you're just selling one thing, sometimes the cart isn't really sensible, but you still need a cart system just so they can get to the checkout, things like that. But also we've got a search, so we can go here and just look. And you can see we've got clothes, and it's just automatically set to men and women. And if we go through here, you can see what they've got for men. And then if you go back, you can click on women. And here you've got a little navigation to kind of just go in and do things all on your own. You can click on clothes and it'll bring you right to the clothes page. You can see accessories, you can see art, so kind of whatever they have here. And you can kind of jump around, and you've got these different ways of navigating, which is kind of nice. They've built it in multiple ways so people can navigate quickly and whatever they're used to. Again, on the front end, you've got suppliers, so you can see like who are the suppliers for these things. Brands, if you've got branding, that's important sometimes. Is it in stock? Sometimes people just want to see the things that are in stock. They don't care about things that might come into stock later. It's really pretty straightforward to see what people offer and how they offer it, and then to be able to look and list and see everything. So if you use Amazon, if you used Walmart, if you used any kind of shopping website, this is pretty much the same type of experience you get there. I think this is very simple. It's very clean. I really like the layout of it. So yeah, I think it's pretty great. I don't think there's a lot I would change about it at this point. Once I get my stuff set up in it, I might, but you can also favorite things. I really like that. So you can kind of put that little favorite there. Really great. I kind of think this is pretty awesome. And it puts a little new tag. I don't know how it determines what's new, but probably by a date or date time of some kind. So this is the front end that your users see. Now again, they would sign in or create an account, so they have an account on your system if they want to come back and shop. I'm sure there's a way to check out as a guest as well. I haven't looked at it yet, but when we go through that, we can always see that. But for you as the admin, you do it a little bit different. So on the back end, where you're trying to change the site and make it make sense, you can go to whatever your site is. So in my case, shop.routemehome.org, and then I'm going to do a slash. I'm going to do admin and then an underscore, and then they tell you just to assign a generic number. So I just assigned a generic number here, and this just kind of keeps people from guessing that it's /admin to try to get to your site. So for me, I'll change this number before I start actually making updates to my site or anything. And it says the page you're looking for was not found. Oh, I didn't type it in right. So it helps if you type in the correct URL there. And when you go there, you can see now I'm logged in. Normally we're bringing you to the login screen, and you would log in as one of your admin level users on the back end here. And then you can see there's a ton of stuff here that can be and needs to be set up. But you get this nice dashboard, and it gives you a nice summary of what's going on, whatever your sales look like, any kind of income, any kind of money. You can change different information. You can kind of filter and change what you're looking at, so you can see different information that way. Pretty nice little charts. I like that. They've got tables of data as well. So you've got a lot of really cool things here just on the dashboard to give you some good information. Now, if I'd been in business for longer, you could see more of a long-term thing. You can see year one here. So it shows you different information based on whatever you select there. So you can kind of select that down to different time frames and see what's going on. So you see it changes up what you see based on what you're selecting from those time frames as well. So as you get into here, you can see the orders. You've got invoices, you've got credit slips, basically, delivery slips, and shopping carts. So as you get into more and more of your different types of sales, if you're having things delivered, you might want to track those things. If you're trying to say like, hey, I need to see what's going on with just how was it delivered, did my person get it? If you want to see the shopping carts that exist, you can go through here and check out the different shopping carts and see what they have. And you can see what their orders look like. So pretty great summary information, in my opinion. When you get here, you can go to your catalog, and this is where you get into your setting your products, setting your categories for your products, doing any kind of monitoring for what's going on with your products, and maybe letting you know like, hey, you're getting low on this inventory. You might need to replenish it here. antiques, not antiques, attributes and features. And then you've got brands and suppliers. So you've got all the things that you need to have for setting up your catalog. Down here, you've got customer information, which is really important because when you have customer information, the one thing you'll notice is when you go to a website, you almost always get auto signed up for their newsletter. I'm not a fan of being auto signed up for things, but giving your people options, giving your clients options to say, hey, I'd like to know more about other services or products that you're going to be providing in the future is always a good idea because it lets them say, yes, I do want to know about that. And it lets you know if there's interest in other things that you might be offering. And that tells you the space. You can even ask about specific things in some kind of poll to find out what space you might be wanting to move into next. So it's super important to know about where your customers are. And then you can check out their addresses. So if you have any kind of shipping information you need, you can get that as well. On the customer service side, so you're going to have people who want to return things. Having those policies set up ahead of time and letting people see that is going to be really important. But knowing what happens with customer service and how they reach you, that's going to be important for your clients. You can have order messages, so anything that they type in about the order that they're making could be really important, or a note that you need to make for yourself about an order. And then merchandise returns, we just talked about that a little bit on the customer service side there. You've got your stats, so you can see different statistics here, and you can kind of go through this list of statistics that they've provided. I think you can also generate your own reports, and there's probably reports out there on their marketplace as well. Now, this is a modular system. It's meant to be built up with modules, so you've got this marketplace. This is something I had to add. So initially you only have the module manager, and you'll see that you only have a few modules there, and they're the ones that are already installed. And if you go searching, it's really just looking for the ones that are installed and active. I don't know, again, why they don't just include the marketplace for you automatically, but we have to go grab that. We're going to get the marketplace, and I'll show you how to do it. And then once we've got that, we're going to go and actually add in the other payment method from the marketplace because that makes it much easier. But for some reason, this isn't included by default either. Again, no clue why they don't want to do that. But to me, it seems like they really should if they want people to be on the uptake of this. Your theme and logo. So here's your design for your site. You can set up your themes for your catalog. You can set up email themes. You can set up pages. You can set up all kinds of things for theming. And then you've got your shipping. So if you have carriers and preferences, you can set those things up here as well. We already talked about payment, so we can go to payment methods and then the preferences for payments. So you can go in here to your preferences and set up your different preferences for your different payment types, which is going to be really important to make sure that you're getting paid properly for people. And then once we go down here, you've got your internationals levels, so you can do your localization for languages, all kinds of things that you would need for international level sales or any kind of sales that are maybe not in English, which I'm using right now. And then, of course, you've got your shop parameters, so you can go in and set up all the things about your shop here. So this is kind of think about this as your preferences, your settings for your shop, and then you've got the marketplace preferences as well. And you've got your order settings, your product settings, your customer settings. I mean, all the things that you need to go through and kind of set up ahead of time to make sure everything's ready to go. You've got your advanced parameters. So you've got information as far as what's going on with the system. You've got performance, again, information. You've got the administration levels things. So things that you're going to potentially want to change about the system. And I'll tell you now, again, documentation is really pretty good, but going through here and just searching for the things that you want. So for instance, if you wanted to say site name, maybe we can look for that. There are no results matching your search. So depending on what you're trying to do, we can go through and try to figure out like, hey, what do I want to call this thing? But if you know what you're looking for, it gets a little bit easier. If we do email, let's just see, there it goes. So email is pretty easy, and it says, do you want to change the email theme, the email subscription form, or something about mail alerts? So you've got a few different things there. So as you search, it makes it easier to navigate through some of this, just depending on what you're trying to accomplish and what you're looking for. But we have teams. So if you have a team that works for you, you're going to want to have them set up in here as well. And you're going to make sure that they can get in and do things. One thing I'll say is when you install the marketplace, it installs this user with it. So just be aware, it's not anything that's odd, but it is going to happen, and you're going to see that user show up and you'll be like, what in the world is that? I had to go look it up. And I said, it's something they have to have in order for the marketplace to be able to do what it does. So just be aware of that. You've got logs, so you can check out the logs of what's happening. Really all the tools you would want to be able to run this is really important, but at the same time, you've got those tools here, so that's pretty great. You can import as well, which is pretty awesome. So if you have a large list of things you're trying to import already, if they've got an importer for it, you can come here and actually get that going. So you can import your categories, products, combinations, customers' addresses. So if you're kind of moving from another system, or you've been using an Excel sheet forever and you wanted to move to a system like this, you've got that option where you could pull that stuff into. You've got the database information. This is all running in Docker, so nothing for us to change here, but just be aware that it's here if you need it, as far as the SQL Manager goes. So I know that's a super fast rundown of an overview of kind of how the admin and the shopping site work, but I think it's important for you to see it up front to know, am I interested in actually getting this thing up and running? So if you are, that's where we're going to head next. So to install Prestashop with Docker, it's not hard. They have some great instructions. They show you how things work. They tell you how to install Docker, which is great. They have some good documentation. They get down to this Docker Compose, and my mistake was I thought this was it. So I just grabbed this, copied it, made my adjustments. And then as I came down and started looking a little bit more, I was like, oh, hey, I have to do this. I was like, oh, okay, there's a couple of other things here that I can look at. And I was like, wait, there's another Docker Compose. And as I kept going down, they were adding more stuff. And then again, more things that they've added and more things that they've added. So they talked about a few things that are really actually pretty important for us to get set up. So if you come to their documentation, it's fine. Just know that it's better to kind of go all the way down, see what they're talking about, read everything before you do what I did. So I had to go back and kind of just adjust things as I went along. But it was a good learning experience anyways. So we're going to go through it and I'll talk about the things that we need to know. So I'm going to open up my terminal here, and I've got it set up already as just my terminal, but I need to go create an actual virtual machine. So let me do that, and then I'll start getting this installed with you. All right, I've got my virtual machine created that we're going to use, and I'm actually going to use an Incus container. It's a much smaller version of a virtual machine, and it's going to have everything we need. Now, I've created a template that already has Docker and Docker Compose and a lot of the other things installed that I want, but I didn't want to just assume that you've done that already. So I do want to walk you through some basics real quick. If you've already done these things and you're set up, feel free to look in the timestamps below and skip ahead. I know that you don't want to just sit through something just because. But if you're somebody who came here specifically to learn how to install Prestashop, these things will be important. So I'd say stick here with me for just a minute. If you don't have Docker and Docker Compose installed, and if you haven't set up a non-root user that has pseudo privileges, we'll go through that really quick, and that way you'll kind of know how to do that as well. Let me just log into this machine I just created, and this is my Presta test machine here. So I have Docker installed already, but to install Docker, if you're using a Ubuntu, Debian, Fedora, most of the major distributions for these systems, it's not hard. It's a single command. But if you're on Windows, you can go install Docker through the Docker installer tool that's graphical. I've never used it. I can't tell you how to use it, but this is the easy way here. So we're just going to do curl. And we're going to do https //get.docker.com, and then we're going to do a space with the vertical pipe, and then sh after a space, like this. So you want to just put this in. When you run this, it's going to go grab Docker and Docker Compose, and it's going to install that on your machine. Now it's going to prompt you for your sudo user privileges if you're not logged in as a root user. If you are logged in as root, it's fine. Go ahead and install this. It'll just go through the install. But if you're not logged in as root, then you'll have to be putting in your sudo privilege user password. So I'm going to Control C out of that because I've already done it. I can show you I've got Docker. Afterwards you can do either Docker or you can do sudo docker ps like this. Now it's going to ask you for your super user password if it hasn't already. And you should see something like this where it's got this table header information, but there's nothing in the table itself if you don't have anything running in Docker yet anyways. All right, next we want to make sure we do have a user that has sudo privileges. So that's me right now. I'm logged in as Brian, and that user has sudo privileges. But if you don't, if you're logged in as root, you should really create one. And to do that, you can do add user and then the username you want. So for you, if your name is Mike, you might want to put Mike. It's up to you. Whatever you put for the username is fine. And then it's going to add that user. It's going to ask you for a password a couple of times. If you're on Ubuntu Debian, it'll ask you for your password twice. And then some information you don't have to fill out. You can just hit enter all the way down to take the defaults. And then you should have a new user and a new location in home. So if you do ls/home, you should see that new user there. Now this is an LXC container, so there's a default Ubuntu user here. And then there's me. This is the one that I'm logged in as. But you should see the new user with inside of /home, and that'll tell you that you've got that user created. If you didn't get prompted for a password, you might still see this user there, but you do need to set a password for that user. And if you have to do that, if you didn't get prompted automatically, you can do PASSWD like that, and then the username. So again, if it was Mike, you would type Mike. For me, I would type Brian, and it would prompt you to say, hey, put in a password, and then confirm that password. And if you're changing the password, it's going to ask you for the current password, and then to put in the new password twice, just like any other system. Okay, now we just need to make our user a pseudo user. So to do that, you'll do user mod -a capital G, which means modify the user, add them to the group, and we're going to put the group name, which is pseudo. If you're on CentOS or Red Hat, maybe Fedora, then it's wheel, like this. It's not sudo, it's wheel. But if you're on Debian or Ubuntu-based spin, it's sudo, like that. And then you just put in the username that you want. So again, if your name is Mike and you used Mike, that's what you'd put. I put Brian like that when I did it. And then it's going to add you to that group. Now, if you're already logged in as a non-root user and you're doing this, great. But you'll have to type sudo before you do user mod because you're not root. So only root can modify users. So again, you need sudo privileges to do that. All right, so you should have Docker installed. You should have a non-root user that you can log in as and be the admin. The other thing we want to do is add our user to the Docker group. So assuming you've logged out and back in as your non-root user, now you'll do sudo user mod -a capital G, sudo user mod -a capital G Docker, and then again your username. So if you put Mike, you put Mike, otherwise you could put Brian or whatever your username is, and hit enter. So if we do this, we'd hit enter, and it would put Mike in the Docker group. Now there's no username Mike on my system, so I'll put Brian in the Docker group. I'm already in that group, so it's not going to do anything, but I'm there. Now you can do two things, one of two things. You can either just exit and then log right back in as that user, and then now you should be able to just run docker ps, make sure you spell Docker right, and you should see that output right there, which is again just the table with nothing in it unless you've got Docker containers already running. The other thing you do is new and then grp, and then hit it again, new grp docker, and hit that, and that's going to temporarily set your user up to be able to use the Docker commands without being without sudo, and then the next time you log out and back in, it'll all be set permanently. It's really up to you how you do this and which way you do this, but you want to get that done so that you're not running as root everywhere. That's just not a good practice. To get into the Prestashop install part now, we're going to do mkdir-p like this, and then we're going to say docker and then /prestashop. So we want to create two folders, and what this says is make a directory. Here's the path. Check to see if the Docker folder exists, and if it does, just use it. If not, create it. Then it says inside of that, check to see if the Prestashop path exists. If it does, use it. If not, create it. So it'll create this whole path for us all in one swoop, which is really nice. So now if we do ls, we'll see there's a Docker folder, and we can do cd docker. And if you just want to check, you can do ls, and there's your Prestashop folder. We can do cd Prestashop, just like that. And now we're in that folder we just created, which is great. Now we're going to do nano compose.yaml, and this is going to create this file called compose.yaml, and we're going to use the nano editor. If you don't like the nano editor, feel free to use any editor you want. It's just a text editor. It's going to open that up. It's going to be empty. That's fine. That's what we expect. All right, I've just pasted in what I have for my template, and I'll have this in the show notes. So again, go to the description. You can click on the show notes. It'll take you over there, and you can get to this, so you don't have to type it all out or try to watch the screen in slow motion or pausing all the time. You can copy paste, and you may just have to go in and adjust things. So anything with the less than, greater than sign around it is something you should replace. That's just a template placeholder for you to know, like, hey, replace this for sure. So we'll go through. This is going to create a MySQL system using MySQL 5.7. It's going to restart unless it's stopped by you. The MySQL root password is you should make something really long and strong, and I suggest like 32 to 52 characters long, something really hard for somebody to ever guess. It's going to be the MySQL database is going to be called Prestashop. We're going to have a volume. This / means in the current folder, which means that Docker Prestashop folder that we just made where we put our compose.yaml file. We want to have this volume added there, which is this folder db-data, and that's going to map to the inside of the container, which is /var/lib/mysql. So this just keeps our SQL data, and it makes it persist so that when we stop the container and restart the container, everything stays there just like we had it. We don't have to go back and redo a bunch of work. The networks that it uses is just one called Prestashop Network. I didn't change that. It's just what came with the system. The next thing we have is the Prestashop web server itself, which is this service. So the container name is going to be Prestashop. And then this is called some MySQL. We can change this to something a little bit more descriptive. So we can call this Presta-MySQL, just so it's a little bit less generic. We've got the image, which is Prestashop latest. And again, it's going to restart unless it stops, and it depends on the MySQL service up at the top. The ports we're going to map here are 8080 to 80. Now, 8080 is a pretty common port, as is 80. So if you already have a service on your system that's using port 8080, you might want to change this. You can always change the left side, you just can't change the right side. So let's just change this to 8422. How about that? I'm going to remember that because I'll need it later for my reverse proxy, but I'm just going to save with Control O real quick and hit enter. We're going to keep going down. We're going to get to this section for environment variables. Our DB server is called some MySQL here. We don't want to call it that. We want to change it to what we called it up above, which was Presta-MySQL. The DB name is Prestashop. That's fine. The DB user is root. This is how they had it set, so we'll just leave it that way for now. And then this long, strong password, you want this to be the same as the password you set up here. So make sure that you just copy and paste from the top to the bottom so you have the same password there. Should be, again, 32 to 52 characters long, something really long and strong. You can leave this as 0, and then this Prestashop domain, this is the domain that you want your system to be called. So if I wanted mine to be called shop.opensourceisawesome.com, that's what I'm going to put there. Now, you need to understand, I own the domain opensourceisawesome.com. I have access to go change the DNS record and set an A record that says shop.opensourceisawesome.com should point to the public IP address of either my server or my reverse proxy. In this case, it will be my reverse proxy. Then my reverse proxy will make sure I get to the right thing. So we'll get that all set up here in a minute. But I want you to understand, I own this domain, so you should own the domain that you set here, and you should be able to set a DNS record that will point it to the right place to get to your service that you're going to be running. This is going to create a volume called Prestashop data or PS data, and it's going to be mapped to the container /var/www/html. This is where all your website files are going to go. So again, you want to make sure this is mapped with / and then PS data. Now you can change this name to whatever you want, but this / is important. And then on the right side, don't change this. It's very important that it's where we say it's going to be. Again, it's got this network set, and then down here we define the network just so that it's defined in the system. And that's really it. That's all there is to this compose file. There's not a lot to it. We're going to do Control O to save, and then we're going to use Control X to exit our compose file. But I'm going to go set a strong password here real quick. Don't worry that you can see it. I'm going to delete this instance after we're done. So I'm just going to set something really long and strong, and you can use OpenSSL or something to generate passwords for you as well. You don't have to do it by hand, but I'll just do something, and I probably don't want a symbol just because that means something special in there. Let's just make that a number, and then we'll go put some more capital letters. Something like that. Something really long, something hard so that somebody couldn't just easily guess it. Something very random out of your brain is great. And then we're going to go down and we're going to make sure we copy that guy. So let's copy it. Let's just highlight this. And in the bash terminal, you can copy with Control, Shift, and C, like Charles. Or you can right click and do copy, whichever works easier for you. And then when you get down here, we're just going to erase this one that I've got, this placeholder. And we're going to go to Control Shift V, like Victor, or you can right click and do paste. Just you want to make sure that those match exactly. And then I've already got my URL set, my domain. So we should be set here. Make sure I don't have any other placeholders there. Yes, everything's good. Make sure that your container name here and the database name down here in Prestashop also match. So make sure that those match and you should be okay. We're going to do Control O, Enter, Control X. So now we're just going to do a Docker compose pull. It's going to go and pull down the containers that we need, so be patient while it goes and grabs that. And then in the meantime, while we're waiting, we'll actually go over and I'll open up my browser here, and I'm going to go to my reverse proxy. Now I use Nginx Proxy Manager for this. I'm going to create a new proxy host, so I'm just going to go in here and click. And if you remember, I said I want that to be called shop.opensourceisawesome.com. So I'm going to hit tab just so it becomes a little chip. You see how it changed that background color. I'm going to put in the IP address of that server that it's running on, 192.168.10. dot, I believe it was 146. And then I changed that port to 8244, I think. I'll go back and double check that as well. When it's finished pulling down, let's just check it and see. It should be done. Yeah, it's done. So let's just do a cat on our compose.yaml. 8422, so I want to make sure I get that port correct. Okay, 8422. And then I did say shop.opensourceawesome.com, and I can check my IP real quick with IP-BR-4A, and it is 146. Good, so we'll clear that out. Let me go back in here and make sure I get this. This was 8422, like that. And the IP address is correct. I'm going to put block common exploits, WebSocket support. I'm going to jump over to the SSL tab. I'm going to go here. I'm going to hit none. I'm going to say request new SSL certificate, force SSL. I'm going to tag all these, but they're probably going to turn back off, and I'll have to go back in and turn it back on. It's just a quirk I have with Nginx Proxy Manager. I don't know why it happens, but it does. Now what's happening is this is spinning. It's going out to Let's Encrypt saying, hey, see if you can reach this site. And if you can, give me a certificate for it. So it did, which is great. So we'll type in shop. And you'll see I've got two, but here's my opensourcesawesome.com. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to click on the three dots and edit. I'm just going to come back in. You see it turned these off. I don't know why it does that. I'm just going to go back in and turn them back on. So it'll force people to go to the SSL site and they can't accidentally get to the other one. I'm going to click. Of course, it's not running yet, so I get a bad gateway. That's okay. We're going to go and we're going to start this guy up. So we're going to say docker compose up-d 2 ampersands docker compose logs-f, just like that. And what that says is, use Docker Compose, start up the containers, and run them detached or as a daemon in the background. Then there's a second command. So we have an ampersand, and we put a second command right in line, and it says use Docker Compose then to show me the logs, and I want to follow the logs, which means show them to me live as things are happening. All right, once you've got that set, we're just going to hit enter. It's going to go and it's going to try to start those containers up, and then it's going to start showing us the logs once they've started. So first, it's going to try to start up the MySQL. It's going to start up the Prestashop container, which depends on the MySQL container. It's going to start giving us some log output. What we're looking for is anything that makes us go, oh my gosh, what happened? And it goes by really fast, so you just have to kind of keep an eye. Sometimes you're going to miss it if there's something that happens, but most of the time your eye will kind of catch something as it flies by. It looks like everything is up and running, and it says this is running. Good. Community server for MySQL. Insecure configuration for PID. Okay, this is just inside of the container, so we should be okay there. Everything looks okay, so we're going to hit Control-C to stop watching the logs. And we'll go back to our proxy manager right here, and we're just going to click on that name. So make sure it opens up with HTTPS, and we'll go back here just to double check. We'll just click edit one more time. I want to make sure that I got those set correctly. I want to make sure it's always forcing and getting everything correct there. That's fine. It did go to HTTPS for us, which is what we want. So we're going to get to the wizard. Now the wizard is not hard. First of all, pick the language that you speak and you prefer for your shop, whatever language makes sense for you. For me, it's English, which is great. We're just going to hit next. There's going to be their open source licensing, so make sure you agree to that, and then again hit next. Your store name, I'm going to put OS, and you can see I've already done this in practice. Shop, OSIA shop. You can put whatever makes sense for you. I'm going to pick that I'm doing downloads, and then it's United States, but I want United States Central for my time zone, so I'm going to click on a little US Eastern, and I'm going to pick US Central. You would pick your time zone and your country, of course. Enable SSL, we want to click yes. This is important because we're going to be pushing people to SSL, and if we don't do this, the front end of the shop is not going to work correctly, so make sure you tick yes on that. We're going to put in our name, email, and then that email is also going to be your admin username, so keep that in mind. We'll put in a nice strong password, and then we're going to tab and do it again. Make sure you can remember it. It's important. We're going to hit next. And then right here, demo products, yes. And I suggest let them install the demo products so you can see how the system is set up and everything. And then also install all modules, yes, recommended. Now these are not all the modules we need, but just go ahead and let it install the ones that they have available. Here for the database information, we do not want the 127.0.0.1, so remove that, and we're going to put in Presta-MySQL. Now, if you followed me, this is what you should have. If not, you need to see, did you leave it as some-MySQL? It's whatever the container name is for MySQL. And I can show you how to get that. So we can do Docker compose PS. And if you look right here, here's this name, so it kind of wraps because of how big my text is. We want to find the name, and right here it is, Presta-MySQL. So that's what you want to use, is that container name right there in that form. And then down here, Prestashop is what we had for the database name. Root is the user, and then you can go back and grab your root user password by doing cat compose.yaml, and then you can just copy this guy right from here. So you make sure you get it right. Control-Shift-C or right-click and copy, and then come over here and Control-V or right-click and paste. Leave the table prefix as PS underscore and leave this checked, and then you can test your database connection to make sure it's working. So when you click that, you should get green and a check mark just like that, and you can hit next. It's going to go through and start setting up the data, and it's going to set up your database. It's going to set up all the test data, things like that. It takes about a minute, so be patient while this part runs, but it should just run through fairly quickly. And it'll depend on your resources on your system as well as how fast this will go. All right, so that finished up. It lets us see what our username is, and again, you can just click on this display if you want to see what you set your password as, or you can print the information if you need to. Down here, it gives you a little bit of information. This is important. So they want you to remove the install folder. So we're going to go back here, and we'll just clear this out to make it easier. And I'm just going to do an ls right here, so you can see it created these two folders for us. So this is our database data right here, and then this is our Prestashop data. And what it wants us to do is remove a folder from here and then rename a folder that's here. So we can just do cd ps data. And if we do an ls, you'll see here's this install folder. They want us to remove that. So I'm going to do sudo rm-rf install. Make sure you spell it correctly. And it's going to get rid of that install folder. And then we're going to also change the name of this admin folder from just being admin to admin plus something. So we're going to do sudo and then mv, which is also rename, move or rename, admin. And we're going to rename it to admin. And I'm just going to do underscore 137, maybe 9. There we go. 1379. How about that? You can make that anything you want. You can make this Bob. You can make this blah 20, 12. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to do 1379. And we're going to hit enter, and no such file directory. I put a space and I shouldn't have right here. There we go. Now, so we should have admin 1379, and we should not have the install folder. Now we have the install text, that's okay, but we don't have the install folder there anymore, and that's important. You don't want to leave that install folder because somebody could come back through and go to the path of your system and then /install, and then basically redo the install of your system and wipe out everything you've done. So it's really important you go back and delete that before you start building out your system. So now we're here, and they've got these shortcuts. So we can click on the shortcut for the front end, and it's going to open up a new tab, and it's going to show us that it's got the sample data, which is great. They've got the shortcut for the back end as well, but it's going to take us to the default /admin location, and it's not going to work. So we're going to do admin underscore 1379 because that's what we created. You would put in whatever you created. And if you do that and it's all correct, it should bring you to the login page. So I'm going to put in my email that I created in that in the wizard. There we go. And then the password that I created for it in the wizard. And we'll hit login. And if I didn't get that wrong, I don't know why it just replaced everything. That was really weird. My password manager is trying to help me, but I don't want it to. So I'm going to hit login. There we go. Now we are logged into our back end of our Prestashop. And here is your dashboard again. So we've got Prestashop up and running. We can get to our back end. Our users can get to our front end. That's great. We can start putting stuff in once you figure out how the catalog and how everything works. But the thing that you're going to notice is if we go down here under this section that says improve, we're going to see modules. And as I said, you'll only see the module manager. So you can click there. It's going to bring you down here and you're going to see here's some modules. It's got available quantities, best brands, best categories, a few things, design and navigation options. And these are fine. These are all installed already. Cross-selling, bank transfer. So here's your payments. You can do bank transfer. That's wire transfer. I don't know anybody who sets up wire transfer to buy from an online e-commerce site unless it's a really massive purchase that you're doing. Cash on delivery, I don't know anybody who does cash on delivery anymore. If you do, you're crazy because you're probably not going to get paid, but maybe it works in some places still and I just don't realize that. Payments by check, this is fine if you're doing invoicing or something like that. But But yeah, again, this is not the best way to do e-commerce. The whole point of e-commerce is that they can pay you right then online with their debit card, credit card, whatever, and you can send them or provide them whatever thing they're purchasing. So these are not the best options, but they're the only options that are here. Now, traffic and marketplaces, distribution API client. That's all this is. There's no marketplace there. You've got some theme modules, and that's it. This is where we have to go out and actually get that marketplace module that I talked about and download it, and then we're going to upload it to here, and it will get installed, and then we can go grab the other things that we want from their marketplace. So it's a little bit of a trick, and it's not a trick from them, but I mean just a little bit of something you have to do, and it's just not convenient. I'm not sure, again, why they don't just include the marketplace and at least one of the debit card, PayPal or Stripe or somebody by default, so that you can then go get the other ones if you want them. But anyways, you got to kind of start with that. So we're going to get into that. This video is sponsored by me. That's right. Did you know that I wrote a novel? I did. And it's a science fiction novel. It follows a guy named Dave, who's a pretty normal guy with a normal job, who happens to fall into a little bit of a less normal job, but doesn't realize it. He goes on some incredible adventures. He has some really cool things that he has to get done. It's just a passion project. I think you're going to love it. It's an action. It's an adventure. It's just so much fun. I understand if you don't want to do Patreon or PayPal, but maybe you'd like to get something out of some money that you're donating back to me. So by buying a book, you're paying me back, and at the same time, you're getting something out of it. You can jump over to Amazon. I'll have links in the description. You can jump over and get the ebook, the paperback, or the hardcover. I'll have links for as many countries as I can get links for, so no matter where you are, you can get a copy of the book. It is English only. It has not been translated. I just do want to put that out there, but I hope you'll get it. I hope you'll enjoy it, and let me know that you enjoyed it as well. Now let's get back to the program. So this is the Prestashop marketplace. This is not the marketplace module we're going to get, but actually like their modules marketplace where you can go find modules on their site to download and install. The one we really need is this one, which is the Prestashop marketplace in your back office. Getting to this sometimes is a trick. Sometimes you can Google it and you can get straight to it. Sometimes you can search, up here in the search box and get straight to it. It's a little bit of a trick sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this link, this direct link in my show notes towards the bottom of the show notes where we're talking about doing this section. Depending on when you get to this tutorial may depend on whether this link will work. I hope it will for you, at least for a while. Over here, you can see sign in to download. So it says it's a free download on the previous page. There's a page where you'll see, kind of squares and things, and it'll tell you the different things. And they all say free download, and it's true. They are no cost downloads. But you do have to basically sign up to get an account in order to download this module. So if you just do the sign up or the sign in, it's going to check to make sure you're a real person. You have to check the box. It'll be like, yay. And then you got to go here and you've got to create some kind of login or use your Google account to log in. Kind of up to you which one you want to do. Once you log in, you'll have a download link. It'll download a zip file. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. I'm just going to use my Google account to do this. They ask for a bunch of information for creating your account and then agreeing to the terms. This is just something where I feel like, why do I have to do this to get a module for the software that you're allowing me to run? It's a little bit weird. So I don't know how much of this we have to fill in, but we'll try. I think it'll make this, let's see, create my account. Is it going to let me do that? No, it's going to make me fill in something. We have to do this field. So I'm a merchant, I guess. I don't know. And then what business? Downloads. So we already entered this. I don't know why they're making us fill this in, but we can try again. I don't know what it's making me pick now. There we go. Okay, so we're in. Here's my account. Now we've got to go back to that same link that we had before. So I'll open a new tab. I'm going to paste in the link. So I'm going to copy it from my show notes real quick. And I'm just going to paste it up here. So it brings us here, and now we have a download button, so we can click on download. And again, download the module. It's going to ask us, and it says, is your shop online? So it's got to give us, we've got to give it the URL of our shop. So we're going to do https://shop.opensourceisawesome.com. And we're just going to hit go. And we have to pick the Prestashop version, which I believe is just the latest version. So we'll just do 8.2. We're going to download this module. So you see there's a few steps to get this module downloaded, and this is what it downloaded. It downloaded V4, so I had it already there, but I wanted you to see the download process. So now we'll go back to our shop. We can close these things now that we've got it. And I'm going to bring up my stuff here, and I'm going to go down and find it here. And it's right here, so I'll bring this over. I'm just going to grab the V4 version right here, this first one. I'm just going to drag it over. And it's going to install this module for us. It doesn't take very long. It tells us it's installed. And if we go look over here, there's nothing. We just need to refresh real quick. And depending on how long it's been since you've logged into this, you might have to re-log into your back end when you do this. Yeah, so it's fine. There we go. So now that we've logged out and back in, you'll see that we now have the marketplace. So we can click on the marketplace under Improve and Module. Give it just a second to load up. And now we've got the marketplace that we've been wanting or needing. So you can see here that there are modules that cost money, and it depends on how good the module is as to whether or not that's going to be worthwhile for you. It doesn't mean that they're not good modules. It just means like, hey, you might have to pay a little bit. But see here we've got the PayPal official module, and of course you can search for modules as well. So we can just do PayPal, hit enter. And we'll see here that they've got a Prestashop checkout built with PayPal. This is by Prestashop, so it's probably going to work really well. And then you've got the PayPal official module that you can also get. And again, it's a partner module, so you can understand like, hey, both of these are probably going to work well. If you'll notice, this one says 4.2 and this one says 4.5. I don't know why the stars are different, but you can also look at how many, 929, and this one's got 248. So maybe Prestashop built this one later on and it just hasn't gotten as much attention. But we can click on install. It's going to go and try to get it. It's going to install it into our system here. And now it's installed, and we can just click on configure. So it says, be careful, your rounding settings are not fully compatible with Prestashop checkout transaction processing. Some of the transactions could fail, but it is easy. Your setting round mode and round type should be set on round up away from 0. When it is a halfway there, and round on each item. So this is settings that you have over here in your admin parameters, I believe, and then also in your shop parameters, so you can go check that out. But they're talking about the rounding settings so that basically you can round up on anything where it just makes it an even amount of whatever your currency is. So you can go and click on change rounding settings, and it's going to say, hey, we updated your settings for you. Great. And configure Prestashop checkout. So again, you've got some different things, and it says you can take Visa, American Express, this kind of stuff. So you've got all kinds of ways to get paid using this, which is kind of nice. And then it says 1.2% or 35 euros or 0.35 euros. So it's this much plus 35 euro, 0.35 euro. I don't use euros. I'm sorry about that. 11 payment methods, including all-in-one. So you've got some different things here that you can use, and you've of course got the PayPal setup that you can do here. So you can go in and configure PayPal. So you've got a lot of different ways to do that. If you don't like that one, you can go back and remove it, and then you can go back and get something else. So it's kind of up to you, and it depends on what you're selling and how much you think it's worth to do that. If you sold something for $100, this would cost you $1.20 plus 35 euro, 0.35 euro. I'm assuming if I switch this to US dollars, it would charge me in dollars. It's probably going to convert to whatever dollars would be. So we should be able to get this done. Everything's ready, which is great. Now we can also go back to the marketplace. Sorry, I clicked on Module Manager. I actually want the marketplace. And when we go back to the marketplace, we can search again. We can see if we find Stripe. And so you've got Stripe official. So if you use Stripe, you could use that instead and check out their terms and make sure everything's set correctly. You've got a lot of different things you can do, and there's tons of modules in the marketplace that may help your shop or be beneficial to your shop. So you should definitely go check those out. I can't tell you about all of them by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought the one where at least trying to get electronic payments would make sense for you guys that were interested. I hope that helps you, and I hope you don't have too much trouble going through that process of just getting the marketplace itself installed. Once you've done that, getting the other modules is really quick, thank goodness. Again, if anybody from Prestashop is watching, seriously, you should just include the marketplace module as a base module. And you really should probably just include your at least your payment module that I just installed as a base module, because it is crazy to me to set up an e-commerce site that doesn't have electronic payment capabilities outside of wire transfer, which again, I don't know anybody who would ever set up a wire transfer for an e-commerce site. That's just such an odd selection. But other than that, everything is awesome. I really like Prestashop. I think it's a really, really cool application. I'm going to go get my actual main site set up so that I can get my book listed and get some other things listed that I know I want to have out there. So I'll let you guys know about that, and I'll put the link to it in the show notes and the description. You guys can get out there and check it out as well. Maybe you'd like to buy an electronic copy of the book. It's not DRM, so you can read it on any EPUB reader you want, and it's just out there for you to grab. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along the open source journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.